right,
Good
Melinda,
morning,
whenever you're ready.
all. Yay. Okay, it is 9:33 and we're calling our meeting to order. Tap, tap, tap. First on the agenda is approval of minutes from the October 9th meeting. Did everyone have a chance to review? Are there any additions, questions, changes? Hearing nothing. Um, do we want to do a chat or hold your hands up, or what do you want to, would you like us to do?
I think that you can go ahead and accept as submitted.
Oh, then we'll accept the minutes as note as written. Yay. Additions to the agenda. I have one. We got an email from Kim about the new digital driver's licenses. It was looking for some an opportunity to discuss how libraries are handling those and what how CCS is, but CCS is really out of the picture on that one. It's just us as libraries. So we'll add that to our new business. Um, as officer reports, I would like to report as usual, I'm involved some way in a sports team's playoffs. I will be at the Bears game on Saturday, Bear Down, and that's all I have.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right, so a couple things on our end. On December 16th, CCS and UMS coordinated the transition to our phone notices from CMS to UMS. Our notice FAQ has been updated to provide any answers to questions that you may have about that change. But the most notable changes are that patrons will now see the caller ID that reflects your library's name and phone number. Another piece of feedback that we did receive is that the phone notices don't automatically list the titles like they used to. So that's something that patrons have already flagged and said that this is different. And unfortunately, they don't like it as much as the last one. So it's just something to be aware of that might be coming up for you. If you have any questions about this, please reach out to us and we can um, figure out your answers. Anything right now?
Yeah, Kiara, I do have a question about
Yes.
this, more for the group overall. Um, I know this is a really short window since it's been live, but we've had feedback from patrons who did get phone notices that now it kind of had the opposite effect where they got more notices than human calls. So now when we call them as like an actual staff member being like, hey, they're no longer answering the phone because
Yeah.
they think it's going to be a robot on the other line, which is fine. We can leave voicemails, but I wanted to just ask the group if anybody else besides us has already seen that in the immediate time, or if it's just a really small vocal group of our patrons.
I haven't had anything.
Very small vocal group, then I will take that. Thank you.
Nothing at Park Ridge. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns about the new phone service? Okay.
This this is
Wait, I
Michelle
think now
from.
Yes, Michelle,
can
I was
I
gonna
ask a question?
ask if you want to share.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know if
I'm
the libraries have been experiencing what we've been experiencing with the phone notices, that it's been either delayed for the patron, or like we weren't able to check out. And then when it did came back online, it gave a different day, like a previous day or another date that they were notified that they were able to come in for their holds.
There's a delay in when the phone notices are going out.
Is this still happening for Lake Forest?
Um, it happened on Monday, but then it got cleared out at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
The hold was triggered like around 10. And then we kept looking at it to see the notification, but it didn't clear until close to 1.
Okay. I'm gonna flag this with Molly S because she's working on this project with UMS. Diego, do you have any insight on this?
I would say if you are experiencing any issues, for sure, open a help desk ticket so we can have that recorded.
I did. Yes, and we were working through it. So I'll also flag it with Molly to make sure that she knows that this is happening because she's our contact with UMS, and we want to make sure that everything is working in a timely manner. Is anyone else having any issues with that?
This is Michelle
Hi, Michelle.
from Des Plaines. Hi, sorry, I'm driving in my car, so if I sound really loud, I apologize. Um, I I just received so I just got back from vacation, and so I wasn't here when it first started. However, I've gotten three staff members telling me about complaints, one even last night. Patrons keep saying that they are not seeing on the caller ID that it's displays. It's not, it's saying like color unknown or something. Well, actually, I'm not positive exactly what it's saying, but it's not giving
Yes.
information on the caller ID, which I know is the whole point of like what this is supposed to do. The other thing is that I guess in the old system, did it used to say how many items were waiting for you, like when it was for a hold?
Yes, it would list out the titles.
Yeah. Yeah, so now it just says you have items. It doesn't say you have 5 items, and yeah, it doesn't get the titles. So yeah, patrons are,
Yeah.
some regulars are not thrilled, and they don't like the quote unquote spam voice of, they don't like the woman. So I'm like, well, guys, there's nothing I'm doing about that. But the caller ID piece, since that is the point, I'm not sure why 3 separate patrons have complained about this. So, and most recently yesterday. So I feel like there must be something. And I did put in a new ticket this morning about that.
Okay, perfect. We will loop in Molly S. and we'll talk about those
Perfect. Thank
incidents
you.
and issues. Thanks for flagging them, Michelle. And Team Lake Forest too. We'll take another look. Anyone else? I'm seeing no feedback yet from other patrons from other libraries, so if something does come up, please feel free to open a ticket and let us know. We would love to hear that feedback from them. All right, so next up, I have the Polaris 8.0 training database update. So this was successfully updated on January 6th, and so you can now resume using Training Staff Client and Training Leap. And then also I've linked in this PowerPoint and I'll send them out the notes for the 7.8 and 8.0 releases so that you understand what might be changing. We also have upgrade related training sessions and links to new or updated documentation will be announced in the um, upcoming weeks so that you know how to use the new changes. And if you are interested in training, Rachel and I will be leading that in February. We'll also be, as CCS staff, reviewing the new features and doing some quality assurance testing to make sure that everything is working as it's supposed to. And if you run into any issues or potential bugs in the training database, please report them to us. All right, just a quick BiblioCore configuration update. We received surveys in the mid-December, and the BiblioCommons teams will be using this to build library BiblioCore sites over the next 6 weeks. And then we also have a Discovery Layer project page on the CCS website if you want any more information about the project and its timeline. Or if you have any questions, reach out to me or Mieko and we can help you out with that. Okay, pausing for questions. Okay, all you, Mieko.
Well, I've got a few things. First of all, I'm going to share what should be an editable link to the sign-in sheet, and then we'll also email it out to the group after the meeting. So the first update I want to give is about LX Starter notices. So CCS will be transitioning to LX Starter for email notices. So this is a service from Innovative that allows Polaris libraries to design more modern looking email notices. So with LX Starter, libraries will be able to customize the look of your email notices. You can add images and branding. So to get started with this, we we'll be working with a set of beta libraries who will work with CCS to figure out things like how to use the LX Notice Builder, make sure that configuration is set up properly, and help us identify best practices. So by the end of that beta stage, all email notices for the beta libraries will be issued through LX Starter. We anticipate the beta libraries being active from February through the end of March. So we already have a couple volunteers, which is awesome. We are looking for another one, ideally 2 more libraries to work with. And we specifically need at least 1 library with multiple branches and potentially 1 library with a drive-up window. And the reason for this, I've got another volunteer. Thanks, Anne. I've got 2 volunteers. Okay, that is fantastic. So real quick, I just want to let you know the reason we are targeting these libraries is that we just need to make sure that the configuration set up will work for both like library levels and the branch levels. So Belinda and Anne, I will reach out to you after the meeting through email. I did send an email to directors that fit the beta library criteria earlier this week. So I will forward you what I sent them, and then we'll go from there. So awesome. This is great. Thank you. I do have like one additional last minute update to share too, about patron birth dates. So just as kind of like a refresher, governing board policy requires libraries to collect birth dates. And then we do use a placeholder birth date for accounts that may not have an actual birth, like if you're registering a business or an ILL library, or, you know, if the patron like flat out refuses to give their birth date. Looking at some record statistics recently, it looks like the placeholder birth date may be applied more generally at some locations. So I just wanted to remind everyone today that of the governing board policy, and encourage you that, you know, if you aren't adding the birth date to patron records, to please do so moving forward. And one major reason for this push now is because of using BiblioCore as our new discovery layer. So when users log into BiblioCore, they will set up a username. And for users under the age of 13, the catalog applies a standardization for them. And that just like prevents them from creating a username that uses like their real name or any other identifying information. Also, one feature of BiblioCore is the ability for patrons to post reviews for materials. Kids under 13 will be restricted from posting these free text reviews. And the BiblioCore catalog uses the patron record birth date field to determine if the patron is a minor. So it's important that we have birth dates in patron records, especially for kids. If BiblioCore sees that placeholder birth date, it will treat them as an adult. So if you are using that placeholder birth date, especially with minor patrons, please make an effort over the next couple months to collect the user's actual birth dates.
Hey, Mieko, I have a question.
Yeah.
I thought that you couldn't save the record without the birth date. At least that's how it works for us. Is that a perimeter?
That is correct. For almost all of our libraries, I'll put a little asterisk in there. You're not able to save a patron's record without that birth date. It's a required field. And I think that in some cases, that's why staff are putting in that placeholder birth date.
Okay.
For our newer libraries, so like for Vernon, they have like a grace period once they come live, so they can like actively collect patron birth dates before that requirement is turned on, just so that they are not always like stopped when working with patrons. So for any user, so like if a user migrated into our database and they don't yet have a birthday field in place, the catalog will automatically treat them like a minor. And that is it for my updates. If you have any questions about that, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. Woohoo. All right, on to some new business. Let's see. Oh, look, it's Kiara's turn.
Hello.
Adding blocking notes to patrons from other libraries.
All right. So this is a conversation, just as a refresher, that we had at the last circulation tech meeting, where we talked about the current hard blocks policy, particularly whether a staff can add a blocking note to a patron from another library. So for this conversation, when I am referring to hard blocking notes, I'm talking about like this notes tab and where we see this blocking note. So the circulation manual does state that only libraries that add a note can alter it or remove it, but it doesn't currently state who can add a note to begin with. So this is a conversation that we had with the Circ ILL advisory group to discuss further, and the group decided to postpone any decisions until we can test the new note field that is released with Polaris 8.0. This is because the notes field is going to give like dating and user who added the note information, and that might change what the decision is. But this is a conversation that we had briefly last meeting, so I want to just make room for any thoughts, comments, or concerns about this. I can stop sharing my screen so that we can see each other. Any questions about postponement?
I missed the last meeting, but a comment I have about notes is some libraries are more verbose than others. And they leave a whole very long history that, might not, maybe at that moment was important, but going forward might not be as important. Or yesterday I came across one where it was a note I left that said this patron, it was, they had the wrong card, they needed a corrected card. And then they did correct the card, and then they added to the note that the card had been corrected. And then since I had left the original note, then I went ahead and just deleted the note because the problem was fixed. We don't need the note anymore. Like, let's move on. Because I really try to get my staff to pay attention to notes. But if there's extraneous notes on so many records, they just, they don't look at them. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion of notes.
And do you use blocking and non-blocking notes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, blocking if it's necessary, but, we'll put it in the non-blocking note field.
So at our library, we use non-blocking notes as more of like a history, but we try and keep it short and sweet. But yeah, I know.
Well, I have a question kind of piggybacking on that because I feel very similarly to Anne. We will find things that are old notes that are not from us, but aren't really relevant anymore, but we're not supposed to delete. Is the rule just that you can't, because my understanding was you can't delete any note that was left by another library, whether it's blocking or non-blocking. And the blocking notes, yes, sometimes there are things that are there that shouldn't be anymore. And if they're resolved, they should be deleted. But what about non-blocking notes? Can we delete non-blocking notes that no longer seem relevant from other libraries? I thought we couldn't, so I haven't been. But to Anne's point, sometimes things hang out there for a really long time and take up that whole screen. And yeah, staff are not paying attention when it's just a block of text. It prevents them from looking at what might be important.
Nico, I'm pulling up the circulation manual just so that I can look at the exact wording, but while I'm doing that, do you have any insight on that?
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay. Here.
The only other thing that I would say is I've noticed a lot of the notes, whether they're blocking or non-blocking, are at the bottom. And like the newest notes are at the bottom. They're supposed to be at the top. And that's the hardest thing. Like I had a patron, I had to work with them because they had 5 library notes and we had to clean them up because we had met the maximum characters for this patron that had gone back to 2018 when we migrated. So yes, like I don't know if Anne, you had mentioned you were training your staff to look at the notes more. Do you encourage them if it's like old to remove the notes if it's your library so that way it doesn't clutter or the item is resolved?
I do. If it's, if it's our note and they see it's been resolved, go ahead, remove it. I give you all permission. But I know I'm not supposed to.
That's good to know. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the notes and then they get confused. I think if there's an important note, leave it at the top, but I tend to also, like, if there's just old notes, just get rid of them. They're not helpful anymore. Like the map was missing in a book, it's been fixed or whatever it may be.
Diego, I'm seeing in the changing another library's patron record, it states that if a library wishes another library's patron status altered or notes to be changed or removed or blocking notes added, staff will contact the patron's home library to make those changes.
I think this is one of the reasons why we're having this discussion now, is to just kind of like clarify what is not explicitly stated in the manual. So if it doesn't, right now, if the manual doesn't differentiate between blocking and non-blocking notes, like it sounds like staff are generally leaving other non-blocking notes from other libraries alone. And I think that is a perfectly good practice to continue at this point until the advisory group is able to have like our big discussion around notes, and then we'll work from there.
And going off of Kim's comment, it does say in the CERC manual to keep the notes field clean. And I know it's hard to remember what notes we put. So that is like part of the responsibility as you're adding notes, that we're also removing them when perhaps it's resolved. It's hard because once you may be adding a note for a patron from another library and then you don't know when that's resolved. So this is a good conversation to be having. So if there's any insight, Anne, thank you for sharing, and everyone that has flagged this.
Well, I think, I guess I understand why CCS doesn't want people removing notes willy-nilly, but I think we also have to give each other the benefit of the doubt that, if Janine reads a note on one of her patrons or one of our patrons that I wrote that has clearly been resolved, why can't Janine remove it? If we're trying to keep the note fields clean, and I don't know, maybe the new system maybe it will change.
So the advisory group would like to test out the new system and see what it looks like and see in which scenarios staff would be allowed to edit, change, delete, remove. So that is the plan, to meet in February and to test that out. And then we will ideally have an answer for the group. But while we do all of that, we would love to hear from you. So if you have any strong opinions and thoughts on it, please feel free to open a ticket and let us know. So it's something that we can continue looking at when the group tests.
Okay, thanks.
Just real quick on the notes, sometimes over in the, not the permanently block, the hard block, but in the other, we'll have patrons who have consistently had some issues. I am trying to get the staff to, when a specific one has been solved, try to condense it down. But we do want to keep, it's hard for me to keep every single staff member up. Well, Jody was in and she has yet another book that she destroyed, and we've written it off, but we're not going to keep doing. So sometimes we have to keep a little bit of history to show.
I totally agree.
Patron with a reoccurring problem.
Right, I completely agree with you.
But I think that they can be like, if you've got several of them, if you've resolved them, maybe cut it down to a general note of this patron has continued issues with damage, or. But I think I agree, there are a lot of notes that get far too detailed. And since we are limited in characters, I would rather it just be shorter. Maybe just indicate that there is an issue. so that you might know we've got certain people, we don't want to give them another claims returned, or it came that way because it always has. So not every staff member works as often. If they don't see the note, they might just go ahead and do it.
Well, and I think it falls to what Anastasia said too, like it's the history, like those are the circumstances that we purposely put that information in there. We don't want this sneaky person to, continue to take advantage of the situation, but there has to be balance. And I'm an extraordinarily concise writer, but not everyone is. So, I think it's a balance, right? We need to figure out
because it is limited.
How soon can we take it out? Yeah, take it out if it's not. And I don't know if staff, like you said, Carrie, part-time people kind of just have that paranoia, like, is it okay to remove it or should I not remove it? It said not to touch this stuff. Maybe just to give them, and you've already given us all permission to do whatever we want with Prospect Heights. So I feel like we could pass that on to everyone else. So. Oh yeah, there you go. That's a good question. And I wonder what it looks like in the new version. Is it more of a log or is it a big paragraph like it is now?
My knowledge of the new feature is like totally theoretical at this point because we have not yet turned it on.
Sounds great.
Training.
Let's make a decision. Go.
But it sounds like it will be like an individual entry, so it would be more of a log style. And then there'll be questions about like, is it edible? Like, what permissions do we assign? So still lots to come on that.
That would be great because then we could say, Susie Q, 3 words or less, if we knew who is choosing longer descriptions than need to be, we could address those kind of situations. I think that would be beneficial. And hopefully it would encourage people to see, oh, this is all you need. This is all the information you need to put in. Let's keep it to a minimum, and still be able to catch the bad guys in the net.
Something I do is, and it's not a lot of fun, but I'll create a report in Simply Reports, and show me all the notes for all these patrons. And then I hand it off to my assistant.
Oh, what a great idea. Nice.
And my former assistant, she loved doing that. It was her favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, she retired, and I'm not so sure my new assistant really wants to do this. But
I like that. I like that idea. So you just go to Simply Reports and pull up all the notes.
Pull up all the notes because there's so many that
there's so many.
And you can just clean them up.
And how do you even start, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you start. Okay. Apicer, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to do it.
And if anyone needs help pulling that report, please feel free to open a ticket and we can walk you through how to do that, because that is a very helpful tool.
There was a chat that came through about consideration of keeping a history log, and that like tickled something in the back of my brain. I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly. Was there a library that at one point experimented with keeping like an incident log in like a Google Doc and then putting a link to the Google Doc in the notes? Am I totally imagining this? Maybe.
It just seems like you're reinventing the wheel. I mean, that's kind of what the non-blocking notes kind of serves for, in my opinion.
Sorry, are there any more comments on the adding blocking notes or? Well, so the bottom line is that we'll be hanging out in February waiting for okay.
Correct. And we'll have an update for you at the next CertTech.
Yay. Is that in person in April? Woo!
It is in person in April. Really fun.
I know, the last one was a gas. Woohoo! Let's see. Oh, Mieko, it's your turn. Overriding patrons with hard blocks recommendations that the CERC ILL advisory group gave us, which was in our packet, I believe, correct?
It was. And I do want to go through just kind of the background for all of this. So Kiara, would you mind sharing the slides again?
Yeah, I might.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm just going to do a little muting here because I think some audio is coming through. Okay, I think we're good. So, to just going to give some background on this topic. At the October circulation meeting, there was some discussion in the group on if libraries should be able to override hard blocks for patrons from other libraries. So some thoughts shared during the discussion included both that like only the home library should override hard blocks, or to allow the transacting library to take it case by case, since it's the items belonging to the transaction library that are at risk. And we took this question about libraries being able to override hard blocks to the December Circ ILL advisory group meeting. And one thing I want to just clarify here, we are focused on situations where the library will override but not remove or resolve the hard block scenario. So like the patron's card is expired, or the patron has like a blocking note or a free text block, and they aren't able to like renew or remove the note. Okay, next slide, Kira. So one thing we looked at closely is what the governing board policies currently say. So these policies are rules that have been reviewed and approved by governance that all libraries are expected to adhere to. So the current policy is up on the screen. Now, this policy specifically refers to the library assigned block, which is a very Polaris specific term. Ahead of the Circ ILL meeting, we researched back to see how this policy came to be, to see if we could find out like what was the intent. Was it specifically that library assigned blocks should not be override and it's excluding things like free text and blocking notes? Or was it being used as a catch-all term for all hard blocks? So we did a little bit of a deep dive into this. The adoption of this policy coincided with the dissolution of quarterly billing. So if you were with CCS libraries pre-2020, we used to track how much money from fines and fees was paid for at other libraries. Libraries received quarterly reports detailing how much money they owed to other libraries, and libraries sent payments back and forth. So as you probably realize now, we don't do that. So we stopped the quarterly billing process after a year-long study where we found that like it was basically a wash, and the amount of staff time used working on this was like way more than it needed to be. So that is why that second paragraph in there about like determining whether to accept reduced payments or waive charges, that's how that came to be. Additionally, this policy was drafted in 2019. It was meant to go to Bylaws and Policy Committee at their March 16th, 2020 meeting, which ended up being canceled. So the policy revision never formally made its way to the Circulation Technical Group for review, and was swept into a draft that was later approved by Governing Board. Kiara, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so we're getting really deep into the weeds here. This is our pre-Polaris policy. So all of our research kind of led us back to the previous iteration of the policy to see like what maybe seeing if this kind of gave us some insight into what we are intending to do with the revised policy. So this one was from when we were on a different ILS, when we were on Symphony. And as you can see, it uses very Symphony-specific language here. So this policy emphasizes that libraries are required to refuse borrowing privileges in the case of a block, unless it's your own patron and the block involves your own items or fees, or you get permission from the library that applied the block. But it does give allowance for libraries to apply best judgment if you cannot reach the library. So like one scenario we think of here is if the library is closed. Kiara, can you go back to the current policy? I'm sorry to make you skip around so much. So putting the current policy slides back up, since this is what the Cirque IL group was really focused on. So again, the group picked up that discussion from the October meeting that states that picked up the discussion that started at the October tech group meeting about, when, if or when it's appropriate to override hard blocks. And some things that the group discussed was really how, like, the second paragraph about, the agency over the fees was in contradiction to the first paragraph. And again, that second paragraph that was specifically added to address the policy and practices in the post-quarterly billing world. We also discussed like what patron service and experience would look like if the policy remained as is, where overriding hard blocks is not allowed, versus if staff had the agency to override blocks if appropriate for the situation. Like, for example, like the patient exclusively uses a neighboring library, or if the issue or condition was resolved, but the block was not removed. So during the discussion, the group workshopped a draft policy update. And I am going to ask Kiara to go forward to our potential revision. So the update outlines that the expectation is still that member libraries are expected to refuse checkout to patrons who are blocked. However, it expands that second paragraph to include agency to determine whether to check out, in addition to the current policy of using agency to accept reduced payments or waive charges. So this revision, it sets the same expectations of the legacy policy, where again, libraries are expected to refuse checkout, but can use the best judgment based on the situation. So this would not be like a carte blanche to override hard blocks to check out whenever. This is just kind of giving you permission to use judgment in those special cases. So that is a very long-winded background about like how we got here. And then what do we want to do from this point forward? So we are asking the group to review this potential policy revision. If the group votes to recommend the policy revision, the revision would go to one of our governance groups for final approval and adoption. And what this policy revision would do is establish kind of that baseline rule that we all follow. If it's recommended here, and if it's approved by governance, I would anticipate the advisor group working on guidelines around like when it may be appropriate to override versus not. So I know we've got some advisor group members in attendance. I would, if there's anything you would like to add from the discussion, please jump in. I will also open this up for wider discussion and comment as well.
The only thing I'm confused about, maybe I'm not reading it right, I do have a problem with another library deciding to waive the charge. If we put a hard block because we expect it to be paid, there may be a reason this patron then just could go to another library that they know will waive it and they never have to pay the bill. Some of our patrons occasionally were hard blocking them because we've given them all of the free books we're going to give them and we need to get the payment. I don't understand why they can waive the charge.
So here's my take on it. And that part has been in policy since 2020. So that's been in policy for half a decade now. My take on that is that again, it's not that libraries, I think we all have an understanding and trust one another that libraries are not just going to be like, oh, this patron doesn't want to pay, I'm going to waive it, right? I feel like, we all still have that respect for one another's fees and situations. However, with the dissolution of quarterly billing, any funds that you take in will stay at your location. So if, as a staff member, your judgment is that the best thing in this situation is to reduce a fee, to waive a fee, that is money out of your pocket, because if the patron pays there, it's staying with you.
I have an opinion on that. I don't think it's about the money. I think it's more about the expectations. And I think some libraries aren't even charging for damaged items. And not that I just think we all have different, kind of standards. And I think that kind of muddies the water. And when someone comes to apply for their card as a reciprocal borrower, if they had a bill at another library, their home library, they have to resolve that. So I kind of feel like, I don't know. I think it does muddy the waters, and I do think we all are all over the board with how we handle our bills. So I do think sometimes it is a little problematic.
We don't hard block them for a payment I mean, I forgive a lot. My staff will get very frustrated with me sometimes. So when we do hard block them, because we've got a lady who has, she turns it in telling us it's damaged and doesn't expect to be charged. If she goes to another library, which she did, and somebody just waived it for her. Well, I've had she's over 5 books that she's damaged, and I really need her. I don't like Anastasia saying, it's not really the money. I want her to stop damaging materials. It's consistent.
Tori, that's where you need some of those blocking notes.
And if I put the block note in and then they go in,
they delete it.
I don't care if they want to check a book out for her, if they want to override the block and check out. But I had a problem with them choosing to waive the entire fee because they, for whatever reason, we stood by it and we let it. But I'm not blocking someone in that case. If I got a hard block over there about a payment, it's usually because there's a reason. It's not that they have to come to me. They can pay the home library, the library they're at. I have a problem with them waiving it. I'd rather than just override it and check out to her and tell them that they need to come here to solve the problem.
I like that response better.
I agree.
And if they're not worried about checking their book out to her with that knowledge,
right,
fine. But I don't think it's fair of them to waive my patron's bill. They need to come here, but they can check out to her. They can still override and check out to her. They just don't have to remove the block permanently.
Can I ask, are libraries waiving bills from other?
Yes, because her bill got waived.
I don't do that. We say, oh, I'm sorry, you have to go deal with this at whatever XYZ library. We actually tell them, oh, I have no authority. It's their, it's their bill, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, it's just, I have had something waived and it was complete. The bill was removed and it was marked
that's not cool.
At another library. Like I said, I don't mind if you want to override and check out to them, but if she knows that they'll waive it, then the next time we bill her, she's going to go there.
Okay, I know Janine is trying to jump in and then I've got something after Janine.
And then I'm done. That's just my only issue.
No, I was just gonna say, as one of the libraries, I know somebody was like, some libraries don't even charge for damaged. And we are one of those libraries that has kind of fallen away from that to a limit. Once you get to the point that someone's abusing something, now they are paying for subsequent damaged materials. And we track that internally. But that being said, I'm very much in the Michelle camp where if it is another library's bill, my staff shouldn't be adjusting that. They can't, I would let them check out. If we are making the call, it's our material we're putting at risk. So fine, override, check it out. But I would not want or expect my staff to adjust fees assessed by another library for any reason.
Yeah, I just like that considered. That's all.
Yeah. So the policy revision we're actually talking about today is to give libraries that allowance to override the hard block without resolving the block situation. So the policy revision we're looking at today would actually address the scenario that like Tori and Michelle and Belinda brought up with like leaving the fee as is, but still checking out because you're willing to take that risk with your item.
So on a separate note, so let's say it's long overdue or even if it's billed but not deleted yet, that block is the way we get our materials. That's sort of our incentive, right? You can't check out anywhere until you bring it back. So if another library overrides a long overdue because they're willing to risk their materials, that's great. But in some ways, you're also risking the materials from the other library because they don't have to bring them back if they just keep checking out at your library. Does that make sense? Sorry.
No, it totally makes sense. And I think that's one of the reasons why if this policy goes through and is accepted by governance, I would want the advisory group to sit down and kind of think of some guidelines around overriding,
I have another note too. I have another note too, Mieko. We just did the NCOA and we had 360 people move. And I've been doing the hard blocks with the addresses saying that they've moved to another one of your libraries mostly. That hard block needs to be taken care of because they should not be checking out on their Indian Trails card if they moved into another library district. So we need to make sure that those don't get overridden, otherwise they'll never be taken care of. And they'll continue to use our resources, e-resources, until they come to visit us to fix it.
And that's, I think, what you're speaking to, Mieko, about, about, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, it's definitely, well, I know it's back now. It flew out and it flew back in about having advisory group come up with those exceptions. Here's an address change? Absolutely not. You're violating the library card policy probably everywhere if you don't live in our district. So there are some that will be a little more straightforward, I think, than other examples.
I also just wanted to say, I know all of you are huge fans of the notes, and my library is probably the guiltiest of all. Because I want to keep track of, oh, this thing happened, and oh, look, you're saying this again, and look, and whatever. Anyway, but the point of the notes, like, if let's pretend somebody has something that's been billed, and for some reason the person comes in and, oh God, it's an emergency, blah, blah, whatever, and we are going to let them check out. I ask my staff to put a note so that the second time that happens, oh, you know what? We told you for this one time we would do it. We can't do it again. So, it's not like all loosey-goosey and nobody cares about anything. There's occasion where you have to make an exception, but like, I feel like, I mean, I can only speak for us, but there's not this like, oh, we don't really care about if things are blocked or if there's bills, or we'll just let people take whatever they want. It's like oh, this one time we'll do it, but we put a note so that oh, we're not going to do it again. We've already done this.
Yeah, our staff does that too. They say one-time waiver to check out.
And I think that was the perspective that the advisory group was coming from when we workshopped the revision, was thinking about those situations where, again, maybe the situation was resolved, maybe it was a one-time thing, versus a hard policy saying, you cannot do this without permission of the library. So that's kind of what we're weighing here, is just kind of giving libraries that flexibility for those situations versus always needing to direct the patron back to their home library or contacting the library directly for permission.
In my opinion, just having guidelines around this and changing the policy, I feel like it'd just be more simple to contact the home library, because I feel like it's just going to be too much judgment, too much different things going on. And that kind of aligns with like our reciprocal, registration. I know it's not, I mean, it's kind of a reciprocal situation, but if someone wants to apply for a library card and they have a bill, they have to resolve it. So I feel like hard blocks are pretty usually serious. This isn't because you have a book that's 5 days overdue.
I just want to also chime in as one of the advisory group members that talked about this, because I know this is something that I mentioned at mine, and I know all libraries are different. So even though this is how we function, I know maybe many of you do not. For the hard blocks, we do not let not all of our staff have permission to override hard blocks. We are a large enough library that we can get away with that. I know not all small libraries can, because you need somebody who can override, but only our staff who are here 20 or more hours a week have the ability to override a hard block to do checkout at all. So that puts an extra level in place of like, if we are making the call, like it is often a supervisor making the call to do that override. And we are not in the practice of overriding hard blocks left by other libraries at all, by any means. But I think to take away the ability for people in other libraries to make that judgment call, also, I think we need more flexibility than to say a hard block is always a hard block. There are no exceptions. Like, we need to be able to make those judgment calls when we're in the situation to have to do it, I think.
I think like what we would do is call the home library and kind of work out like, an exception that way too. But it doesn't come up that often. So, that's just how I feel about it. I do feel a little more, I don't want to say strict, but I do feel like a hard block should be resolved then and there 99.9% of the time, probably, in my experience.
I understand where you're coming from, Anastasia. And we are very lenient, just like Janine said, with a lot of our things at our library. But I think some of it too is we've gotten to the point where customer service or patron service, that interaction between that part-time staff member and a patron who's being blocked by that library ends up being very uncomfortable sometimes. And that library, whoever it may be, ends up having to call and then it's refused, and it puts a negative feeling on everyone's library at that point in time, and that staff member who's having to work through that interaction, and then having to call that ability to move through that transaction. I think I feel like we try to protect our staff. We talk about conflict resolution. I think Dustin and I were talking about that in an email, like how do we work through those interactions? And this is a way of not having that specific one come through. And I understand a patron has moved. The patron owes money. Like there are like guidelines, like I think someone had mentioned, there's going to be things that we just are very hard about. Like if you owe money, you need to take care of that with your home library. But if you have a long overdue that you just got today, that may be a different situation than another.
But is a long overdue a hard block? I would assume.
Yes. Yes. Long overdue is a hard block. So I'd have to call you to make sure I could check out to that patron because they have a long overdue at your library's set date.
Okay. Well, I agree with the long overdues, but like you said, like money or moving like that, like a long overdue doesn't seem like a hard block to me, but.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons why it was brought up to the advisory
That's a good
group,
point.
because of the fact, I think we all agree, money, we're all about like making sure that your library gets the money that it should, and we redirect. I'm always for like, I can't check out to you. I will send it to your home library so you can check it out there and cover it there. But when I think it comes up that I would have to call someone for a long overdue. And I mean, I feel like most of us would be like, yeah, go ahead and check it out. It's for whatever your long overdue is, 14 or 15 days. That's the issue that comes up more regularly at our library than a patron who has moved or has money owed. So that's where that policy, that hard block comes in and is preventative.
I'm pausing for any additional comments. So
maybe
I think
we
now
could,
that,
Mieko,
sorry,
maybe
Cheryl,
we
please go
could,
ahead.
maybe we could look at taking out the reduced or waived charge part of the second paragraph, so that that's not an issue that is allowed to be unblocked.
I am hesitant on that because that was specifically added by governance post quarterly billing. I can ask about that though.
And I can see, thank you for doing the deep dive on it because wow. And I can see why that would be in there then, because it was a big, I was around then and it was not fun to try to break all that down to figure out who owed what. And that it really was a great decision to not do it moving forward. But also, you know, when you're looking at it as someone not on the front desk, you're looking at the dollars. When you're looking at it, someone at the front desk, you're dealing, like Kim said, with people who just want to help the person in front of them, whatever it takes. So I does everyone I feel like that takes out that ambiguity. Do other people feel that way too? Or I know you talked, Mieko, about adding some other kind of rules and regulations if you want, or a list of things that should or shouldn't be done. But I think we, at least what I've heard, agree with the, money moving, but it's those other kind of unique situations that we need to use our best judgment for. And if we can't reach the home library to make that call. Got to open up the chat box that was tiny in my little thing. Right, absolutely. Especially Library of Things. Oh, criminals. Yeah. So it is very unique, or not unique, but there are lots of different situations.
It is, and I was going to say, I think Karen brings up a good point,
Yep.
and Kim as well. Like for one day, it's different, for
right
14-day overdue. But if that 14-day overdue is a 1 week item or a Library of Things or something very expensive or something, I don't know. It's there's a lot of I sort of wonder, would we do that if it was an RBP patron? Would you override an RBP patron if they were expired at the other library in your system, or if you couldn't get a hold of their home library, would you issue a reciprocal borrowing to someone that you couldn't? I'm sort of thinking of it like we have more information than we would with an RBP, but should we? I don't know. It's interesting. I sort of feel like we should almost think of each other as other RBPs, but we have more information than we would if we couldn't, if they were outside the consortium.
Right.
I also think that sometimes we can get into the weeds when we think of every single transaction that we're talking about, and we work well together as a group and understanding that other libraries do other things. Like I have a huge Library of Things collection. Would I override something because something overdue, long overdue? Probably not. And, those sorts of things, I think we all have a good foundation that we've trained our staff on to do that. And if there was an error, I would be like, hey, give me a call so that I can correct an issue that may have bothered you or your library. But there are so many intricate details that happen within every transaction that we could sit here and name them all. And I think this policy just is allowing us to have some sort of flexibility in that moment to protect our staff, to have good customer service, and make the decision best based upon the situation that's going on, while still respecting the home library's block or whatever that may be. Like, we're reading the notes, we're reading everything that happened to make sure that we're following the best procedures, because most times if they go to the self-checkout, they're blocked. They have to come to a staff member. The staff member has to look at everything on the account to see what's going on. And sometimes information overload is there, and how many emails do staff or patrons get? They may not realize that they have a long overdue, and then we're the ones who are telling them so that they can return your material. I know we can talk about this for a very, very long time based upon everyone's experiences.
So if we go back to the original intent of the CERC advisory group recommendation, it's giving us that flexibility, right, Miyako, that we're talking about.
Yeah. Kara, would you be able to put the slides on one more time so everyone can take a look at it?
And I feel like this, and training is a big word, and it's not always 100% foolproof. But this is what, Kim, when I'm hearing you explain it, I feel like this is a training thing. But again, when there's somebody in front of our staff members, it's doesn't always come back to what was that on my list that I was supposed to do and how to react. So, but I think most of us, I don't know. Anyways, let's take a look.
So again, just to kind of point out some of the things that the committee focused on was that the CCS members were expected to refuse borrowing privileges if you've exceeded your home library's max fee threshold, or if your account is blocked from checking out. So that essentially opens up to any Polaris hard block. And then again, it gives that allowance if it applies to the situation where you can use that judgment and have that agency to override the hard blocks to check out.
But as I'm saying, my concern is it goes further than that. It's allowing checkout or accept reduced payment or waive charges. I have a little bit of a problem with that. I don't want them making that call. I don't mind if they want to check their material out. I don't care. I just don't want them deciding that the patron doesn't have to pay for it at all at their home library, because that's their policy there. That's not where they checked it out. They checked it out with us. If they have to pay, feel free to check out to them if you want to, but I want that block to remain so that I can, it's usually a hard block for us is somebody where we're having an issue and they're just going to other libraries, but I've never had anybody completely waive the charge without calling us first. I will tell them check out, but don't waive the charge. They're still going to owe us the money. I don't think that other library should determine whether or not that should be cleared.
Miyako, that's what we're asking us to revise. That's the revision, correct? That's posted right now, or is that the current?
This is the revision.
Can you post the current? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay. It's already there, Tori.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah.
I'm just not crazy about it. It's waiving a charge. So, like I said, I don't care if you check out to them and want to override it. I have a problem with you waiving a charge that our library is placed on our patron, on top of which it's our patron, not theirs, for our materials. I don't think that they should be able to just find out what library will waive things and just go over there. We give them a lot of gifts. Sometimes we hit the point where they have to pay.
Right. I think what Miyako said is she was willing to take that up to find out if that's language that can be further updated.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's the only section of it that I have a particular
problem. Go ahead,
so,
Miyako.
I'm going to jump in real quick and then I'll pass over to Athena. So the revision that we are voting on today is that addition of the allowance to override hard blocks. So that's what we are focused on today. So any discussion around changing the reduced payment or waiving charges, that's going to have to be an entirely separate discussion. And I will turn it over to Athena.
Yes, I just had a quick question because it seems like a lot of the discussion is about the damaged material and waiving it. So how does the flow chart that we have regarding patrons returning damaged material kind of tie into this policy revision, right? Because we're talking about if it's checked out by another library versus checked out at Lake Forest for that example, right? So if it was checked out there, am I not supposed to follow the damage?
You would still follow the damaged chart because the damaged item procedures instruct you what to do when you receive that damaged item.
So I'm wondering, does that help with some of the concerns that people that other staff are having here? Like taking into consideration that we still have that other guidance? I don't know, just throwing it out there.
It's a good way to look at it.
Can I say the only thing that we were changing on this is basically one word. Currently it says it's required, and we wanted to change it to you're expected to refuse instead of required to refuse. It was like pretty much just that one word we wanted to switch it so you did have some flexibility on hard blocked overriding.
I think that we have to have flexibility. We have to allow us to have judgment calls because we all know, as Kim, you said, there's 30 gazillion versions of what could go wrong and this could happen and that could happen. And if something is overly weird, we are going to call the other library. And I would hope that we all have the respect for one another, that we know that we have judgment ability. Like, I'm not just going to go willy-nilly and like, oh yeah, I don't care. It's their stuff, whatever. We're just going to waive everything. We can't make these super strict rules that put us in a box, which then makes our staff completely vulnerable to, like, you know, they deal with a lot of stuff. Like, we know that I have staff dealing with people yelling at them, all sorts of just really, really difficult situations. And now if I have to like tell them, okay, guys, you can't, you know how I talk about using your judgment all the time. No, every single time you have to make a decision about something like this, you need to call the other library. If they can't answer it, they have to find their manager, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like this is giving us the ability to do the right thing without putting us in this like very rigid place. And now I'm done off myself. So
I'll just add really one more thing to that, Michelle, is that it also in that first sentence gives you the excuse. Like if you're not comfortable doing and you don't want to do it, we're expected to do that. We're expected to refuse the borrowing privileges, you know, and it's the however is the point, what did you say? 99.9.1% where we have to, you know, make a decision based on what the information we have.
And that's what we tried to discuss at the advisory group meeting, because I'm on that right now as well. And I mean, I'm just repeating what other folks have said. The nuance is so wide. There is a difference between like Tori's habitual person asking for passes again and again versus the 92-year-old homebound patron who dropped it in the tub. And it's like, no, I would never expect any library to be so strict on that they're like, yeah, this was an accident. And I think that's just part of the deal of being in the consortium, is that the rigidity some may have, some may want it, but it's like, you can't, it's not black and white anymore. Like, it's specific to the interaction for everyone. And when we were crafting this, it was trying to be as broad as possible while, like Belinda said, still giving everyone that excuse. It's like, we can't, sorry, it's somebody else's, but being able to decide on a dime what works best.
Are there any other comments? Questions? Do you see any more, Mieko, or do you want me to, are we comfortable putting it to a vote or?
I say let's put it to a vote. Maybe we should probably do a roll call for this one.
Okay.
And I do have a list of CCS libraries up. I don't know if Rolling Meadows or Wakanda are on the call, but you are officially voting members now. It's okay to abstain if you don't feel comfortable. So I will turn it over to Belinda to make the motion to recommend the policy revision.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the policy recommendation from the CERC ILL advisory group as written.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
so I will do the roll call.
Thank you.
So Algonquin,
I'll say yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Crystal Lake,
Yes.
Des Plaines,
Yes.
Ela, I know Ela is here. And I will say this is a vote, so totally okay if you want to say
Thank
yes,
you.
if you want to say no. Thanks. Okay, Evanston, I'm not sure if Evanston is here today. Fox River Valley,
Yes.
Fremont,
Thank you.
Glencoe, okay. Glencoe may not be here. Glenview, Grays Lake,
Yes.
Highland Park, Huntley, Indian Trails,
Yes.
Lake Forest,
Yep.
Lake Villa,
Yes.
Lincolnwood, McHenry,
Yes.
Morton Grove, Mount Prospect,
Yes.
Niles, Maine,
Yes.
Northbrook,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
Prospect Heights,
Yes.
Round Lake,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows. Do not think they're here. Just want to make sure. Vernon,
Yes.
Warren Newport, Wakanda, Waukegan, Wilmette,
Yes.
Winnetka Northfield, and Zion Benton. Okay.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for an incredible discussion and bringing all your concerns to the table. Super helpful. Appreciate it. And guess what? It's Kiara's turn.
Okay, so our next point today is clarifying the claimed items not found procedure. So some background on this one as well. A library reported noticing that this procedure currently states that staff will decide if an item should be billed, but it does not define if this refers to the patron's home library or the library at which the item belongs. So we just wanted to compare it as well to the damaged item procedure that states the owning library should not apply a bill without the knowledge of the return library. So when the advisory group discussed this current procedure, they voted to recommend updating the sort of manual language and the procedure language to state very similar to the damaged item procedure that a library cannot place a bill on a patron's account without the knowledge of the claiming library. So we're asking today for the group to review this, have a discussion, and then we would vote to establish this new rule for the group. Comments, questions, concerns?
When you say claiming library, you mean the library that owns the item or the library that's, what do you mean by claiming library?
So it would, let me take a look. So it would typically be the home library, but we also don't want to just limit it to only the home library so if there's a case where it's another library that owns the item, is that correct, Mieko?
This would be the library who made the claim.
Who made the claim.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Cannot place a bill on a patron account without wait, then it makes no sense to me. If the claiming library is the library that makes the claim, a library cannot place a bill on a patron account without knowledge of the claiming library. Wouldn't
it just be a claims?
Wouldn't it's themselves. I don't understand.
Like if somebody came to your library and said, oh, I already returned XYZ and some of it was mine, I can't go and put a bill on that person's account because my $30 book is missing, I think is what this is saying. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So I'm going to jump in real quick. So the scenario we were looking at here was like the item is already claimed. And once an item is claimed, you have the ability to make it lost and bill the patron.
Oh, okay.
So this is just saying that you don't want someone who's like not involved with the claim to like.
Oh, so like the owning library sees that another library claimed this and now they want to charge the patron.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Is that right, Mieko?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that? We at ELA, we do not use claim return almost ever. I mean, it's a pretty rare thing that we would do it. But I know some libraries, at some point we were talking about some libraries, if a patron says that they returned it, they put it in claims returned and then expect, I guess, that the home library is going to look for it or something. So is that taken into account or is that not happening anymore? Sorry.
I look for it. I check the claims return report and I will go look for it. If it's on there for a length of time, I will usually ultimately put it to lost and just put it as a write-off. But I sometimes will give it a little time because sometimes it bounces through the system. It does get returned, but it took longer or went to LVK before it came to us, or because some people put claims returned immediately.
Right, that's my question. I'm trying to understand if you put my book in claims returned, I mean, I wouldn't even, I very rarely even look at the claims returned report. Because for us, if it's claims returned, it's really probably gone. You know, it's probably not coming back. But if you put my item in there, then I shouldn't put the only thing I can do with that item then on my end, really, according to this, I shouldn't bill it, which we wouldn't anyway, but I should put it in repair or missing or delete it out of the system, right? Is that what we're sort of saying? I shouldn't bill it because I'm not the one that talked to the patron to begin with.
That's exactly what happened. It was, I had asked one of our patrons came to us and had informed us that they had returned something, and the claiming library billed them for it, and the patron's like, but I told you I returned it. So it became a very strong conversation with the patron. And so I went to the policy and I had pushed it up to Kiara and Mieko to talk about it, because my patron was blindsided with the fact that they received a bill from that library, because they checked it out at our library, they did everything at our library, and all of a sudden they received a bill.
Is that following the policy? I always have to look it up when I have one of those situations.
We had claimed it.
Mm-hmm.
The owning library of the material ended up billing our patron for it and so the language said that I think it was staff. Yep, thank you for highlighting that. Staff, and it didn't identify who that staff was. So this was basically identifying who that you should contact the patron's library or whatever it may be before you put a bill on their account, because maybe something.
So it's already our policy, it just wasn't followed.
Yeah. It was just the language didn't mirror the damaged. How we were supposed to, before we put anything on another library's account, we should contact them, library patron's account, if it was done at their library or at their home library. Like everything, the transaction and everything occurred at Northbrook. The item belonged to another CCS library, so they didn't understand.
Yeah. Is this more of like a training opportunity than a policy? I don't. So in my mind, that's already our policy, because that's our procedure.
Right.
So.
And I think it's just clarifying the language in our procedure to make sure that we understand that we are contacting the library, or we're not applying a bill without first communicating to see what happened. So yes, it's just reflecting that damage procedure policy that Kim pointed out.
But is this a current policy or a new policy because of the situation?
This one here, the current one says just staff will determine. So what we want to do is add this language where it cannot place a bill without the knowledge of the claiming library. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions about this?
Still there. It's still, that's it.
Do we feel like we are ready for a vote on this one?
I'm not sure if I'm clear on what we're voting on.
It's just changing the procedure language to include that a library cannot place a bill on a patron account without the knowledge of the claiming library.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were trying to determine what staff means.
I think we're dropping that conversation where it's like not explicit enough.
Because it sounds like some libraries may have a different policy of who's allowed to do that kind of.
Right.
It might be a permission thing, right? Or no?
To me, it's clarifying who the staff is. That's what it is, right?
Okay.
So it's not, yeah.
Okay.
So it's just changing that word to be more descriptive.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, I look at the claims returned report that comes out and go through, and my own stuff, sometimes I'll hop over. What I do is go in and look for other libraries.
Right.
That my patrons are claiming they returned. And make sure we don't have it here accidentally on the shelf or something like that. But I generally, if it's one of our pieces and it's a library, another patron from another library, if it doesn't show up, I ultimately just mark it as lost or missing to get it off the claims return list.
Right.
And then it's our determination whether or not we want to repurchase or whatever. I assume the claims return is a good faith that they have checked all their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have occasionally called and asked them to double check their shelves, because sometimes the claims return, it is there. It just got missed being checked in. But I mean, I ultimately moved those along so they're not stuck. And then, our stuff on our patrons account might be different, but I go in to move it off of the claims returned at some point. So yeah, if we're just gonna, I understand what we're voting on now though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make oh sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say I'll make a motion to recommend the claimed item not found procedure as revised.
I second.
Are we good to do a voice vote, Mieko? Yeah. All right.
Shall we make it a comment? Or
Yeah, I would say I'll have Belinda just ask everyone all in favor, and then you can either comment, raise hand, verbally say yes, and then we'll
Okay.
ask for any opposed.
all right, well, I'm gonna hurry up and say that before everybody votes. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
And then, Belinda, if you want to ask if anyone's opposed.
Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Woo, that was a lot of pressure.
All right, I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I think that was the CCS topics. Am I correct, Belinda?
So far, yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
Unless we can come up with something else. Just kidding. Okay, next up is my friend Anastasia.
Thank you. Yeah, so we just had our evaluations, our yearly evaluations, and I, got some comments from staff that they would like more support and, learning more computer technology. So I was just wondering if any this isn't really like LEAP training, but more just kind of general computer skills. I was just wondering if any other libraries have had any good trainings that they've attended or how they best support staff in that area. So I was just curious to kind of hear from other libraries if this is a topic of discussion at your library and if there's anything you're doing to support your staff in this area.
So to clarify, Anastasia, you mean like Google or Microsoft versus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
okay.
yeah, just kind of basic computers skills like, Word or Excel or, just getting more comfortable, with, am I using Chrome or Internet Explorer? How do I open different tabs? I mean, it's something that I work with them on, but just some extra support for some staff that aren't as, computer heavy users as some of us. So yeah.
We've used LinkedIn Learning for like Excel or Word, where they can go through those sorts of trainings. We give staff, it's up to them if they would like an hour a month of training, or if like there's a program that's like an hour and a half, we will make do with that on the schedule. For the management team, we recently had a staff member from Adult Services work with us on our Google site page. So she came in and did a brief overview training for an hour and a half with all of us. And then we're working on developing our Google site page. So I think if you have someone within another department that does some training, that might be like for them a way of getting more access to that too. If you could set up a little meeting, if you can get everyone together and have them do that basics and have questions ready ahead of time so you know what they're looking at learning so that person can gear that training towards them if you have anyone in staff who does tech training.
We do that. We have in-services probably 5 times a year for like 3 hours in the morning on Friday mornings. And we tend to drop in things, especially things that have changed, with like we have Communico. If something's changing there, that's when we would do it. And our tech people do a lot of videos because that the computer printing from your computer to the print station, all that stuff changes so often that we do those kind of videos.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've used LinkedIn Learning in the past, and I think part of the hurdle is that some of it's more like a personal interest and then they don't get to practice it in their job because, I want to support them like, yeah, to learn more about Excel, but then, as a circulation associate, like how often are you using Excel in your job? So I think it's finding time for like that experience after learning too, maybe that I'm struggling with for some of them, but yeah. But this is helpful. Thank you.
Tori, it's your turn.
Yeah, I completely forgot about this. It partially came up because of the people trying to rip everybody off with trump cards. But I was just wondering about people who do the automated. We currently do it in a way where one of us has to sit down and fill it out and do the work. So I was curious what kind of success people are having with the automated versions and a little bit of how it works. Or not.
We do ours. We fill them out ourselves. So
okay, so your forms come to somebody's
our
email
forms,
and you
correct. They come to
sits down and does
circulation,
it.
and they're issued a digital card only until they come in and get their physical card. And that
And what
was
can how much access do they have with their digital card? Do they have ebook access?
Yep.
Databases, stuff like online
Yeah.
until they come pick it up.
Correct. And that way it's not a physical material that they're taking. This, when we first started our digital cards, it was for a different purpose. But then, back in March of 2020, we found this was a beneficial service to provide. So that's what we do give them access only through the digital world, no physical materials. So they
So
come
the
in.
card that they're given isn't got an actual, like your actual barcode number.
It
but
does.
still
It has
their databases.
Yeah, it just gives them the library card number. So then, yes, they can use it.
Okay, because that's what I was wondering about. Is I see some that sort of start with like a PN something.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Tori, that's us. And if we have background noise, I apologize. I can switch to chat, but we do the automated one through the Power Pack, and it's the PAC-REG is the prefix for everything. And very recently we just switched to that's automated, but I still go in and make sure that all the information is correct, make sure that they're actually a resident of our district. If they're not, I'll be like, you need to go here, you need to go over there. Like Melinda was saying, it is just limited to digital materials only because they're a resident. We didn't want them to go hog wild with the physical materials. They can wreak as much havoc as they want in Libby or whatever. And then after 30 days, because I'm checking it, I can just go in and delete the account. And so that way they can't keep using it or it can't keep getting extended by somebody. There's a lot of background noise in this room. I apologize, but that's what we do currently.
Okay, Indian Trails follows Fox River Valley. They come up as Pack Reg. We give them a library card number and an email, but they only have 30 days to use the e-resources. If they don't come and get their card after 30 days, we delete everything.
Same for us.
So you need to send that. They get a thing that they can kind of.
Right.
When I see the unusual number, I'm wondering if they can get into anything online.
No, we take the Pack Reg and we alter it. We move the Pack Reg number down to former. We give them a normal library card number that they can use for the online. After 30 days, they can't use it anymore.
But Tori, to answer your question, that Pack Reg prefix is usable in Libby in our e-resources. It does give them access.
That's what I was wondering is,
Yes.
Yeah. But we did have a library check out an item on that Pack Reg, a physical item, and that's not supposed to happen. So.
Well, I would say, Tori, Pack Reg is how you have it set up on Libby. We removed Pack Reg as being accessible on online resources. So you can choose not to have that as a prefix and just have your, like ours is 21123 is the only validation. And then for the Pack Reg, you have to set their profile up where they can't check out. That's what it's, so we have it where they can only place holds but they can't check out because it says 0 checkouts allowed. So if they went to the self-checkout, they would not be able to check out. So
Okay,
it's a lending, it's a kind of like your teacher cards or whatever you have. I'm trying to remember. It's a checkout limits and hold limits. So we allow them to place up to 10 holds, physical material, no e-resources with a pack reg card.
Right. Well, somebody overrode it for us
Mm.
because they checked it out manually to a member under a pack reg number. So
What we do at Park Ridge, we don't use the LEAP online registration. We have a form on our website that goes to our patron services email, and then we process them as a regular patron, and we send them the card number, and we ask them to come in within 2 weeks to pick up their card and prove their residency. And if not, then we block it and we mail it to them. So they can still access our online resources, but they can't physically check out until, you know, they prove their residency.
Okay. Yeah, I just hadn't used any of those services. We started it during, like probably some other people during the pandemic, we were issuing cards, obviously, so patrons could do stuff, but we kept it going because patrons do like it. And it does save us time when they come in here and tell us they're already registered. All we have to do is the staff can set up. But I had seen those pack reg and thing, and I wasn't sure how those worked with your ebooks and digital stuff. Because I'm like, well, if they have that, of course, they can't check out till we confirm physical items till we confirm. But I didn't know how that worked with your e-stuff, which we do want them to be able to use until they can come in and swap around.
Anastasia, I have a question about something you said. You had mentioned that if you mail out the card, but you put a block on it, so you allow patrons who have blocks to continue to use your e-resources?
No, because they have a block, so then it's blocked from using the e-resource.
Oh, I was under,
Yeah.
okay, so you said you mailed it home so that they could use e-resources.
With a block. Oh, no. So
Okay.
they have 2 weeks to use the e-resources where the card's unblocked, but we have the physical card. If they don't come in with those 2 weeks, then we block the card and we mail it to them, basically saying like, you still have to come in and unblock your card.
Got it. Okay.
To prove your residency. Yeah.
Thank you. I was just like, wait, you're very nice. That's awesome.
We
Yeah,
at Graves
at-
Lake. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say at Cary, we do the pack reg also, but we have them limited. Only thing they can use is the Palace project. So they really want to come in and get their card because that's all they can do with it.
At Graves Lake, we use the temporary resident field and give them 3 months and only access to online resources. We keep the physical card here so that if they come in, their form is already pre-filled. They just need to, show proof of residence and choose the optional stuff, and then it's changed to the full 3-year expiration. And we use the expiration date field in order to, cut them off after that 3 months so they can't use the e-resources. And then when every once in a while we go through and cards that haven't been used, we check to see if they've used online resources and just wipe out that card so that we can reuse it. It'd be really helpful if there were like some sort of systemated thing so we didn't have to use a temp, that we could just, have it kind of like a toggle, something like that, which would be really helpful from a technical, because it's more, it feels like it's a runaround rather than a really great system.
Anybody else have anything to add? All right, I'm tapping you right back in, Tori, for the tech equipment restricting by age.
I don't remember asking for that one.
Oh,
Chusey asked. Okay. Chusey, come here and talk.
somebody's dropping your name down.
Yeah, I am. I'm throwing it down.
So we, our games are not, like our tech equipment, our tech equipment is limited to the age of 16 and up. I'm wondering if there's a way to have it tagged somehow without having to look at the birthday.
With the system.
With the system would let us do that, because there are some kids that come in, it's questionable at what age they are, and you're trying to check out, but then you notice, oh, no, you're the wrong age, or, you know, when you're busy. I just was wondering if there was a way or
prevent the hold.
To prevent, yeah, them holding it. Because when people could apply for a hold, we won't know until we're ready to check out to them.
Right.
And then we have to then tell them, oh, I'm sorry, you need someone older to check out on this item. So that's my question, is if anyone
Saving them
else
a
have,
trip, so to
right,
speak.
have
Oh,
that
for sure.
experience.
So one thing I will say from the ILS perspective, if you want to open a help desk ticket, and we can do some research for you. I know there are several libraries who, everyone gets 6 patron codes. You can use them, label them however you want. There are some libraries that have separate patron codes for adults and minors or juveniles. And using the patron code, we are able to restrict holds and checkouts by material type.
Sure. Thanks. I really don't like
And that is what I will say for that. I'll open up if anyone else has like other workflows that they do.
Mieko, does these patron ID numbers that don't really do anything for the rest of us, is there a way to do that on a patron ID or no?
So the method I was just talking about uses the patron code. So that would be like WGK patron, WGK educational.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would really basically have to have a WGK youth patron code. Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. How about my friend Donna? Clearing
Okay,
out.
well, we basically
Talked about it.
almost already talked about
Yeah,
this, but
nice.
the pack wedges, when I went in, there's a whole bunch of them for all the libraries still sitting in LEAP. My question is when you get the online registration, what we do here is that we take the pack wedge, we move it to former barcode and give it a library card number. That deletes the whole pack wedge completely. But I'm seeing there's a lot of pack wedges still up there. Does anybody do the same thing we do? Or is that why there's so many pack wedges, that they start fresh with a new feel?
We do the same, Donna. We do the
Yeah,
same.
you do the same. Yeah, because it seems like there's a lot of pack wedges left. So I was just curious if people just start from scratch when they get it online and just leave the pack wedge and not delete it.
We convert the pack reg card into their permanent card, because they put all that information in there. I bet a
Right.
lot of ours that are holdovers are ones from before we started actively emailing those patrons. I've thought about going in and cleaning it out and then immediately was like, that's for another time. So that's why a lot of ours are still in there.
So do you say you send a confirmation email, right? To
Yeah,
Yeah,
our
okay.
email is like, your number used to be Pack Reg. It is now this actual
Okay.
217 number. Yep.
We leave them and don't convert them until they come into the library. So we leave them, and
Okay.
then for record retention, we keep them because we've had patrons come in previously, or if there's it'll show up as a duplicate. So we can't necessarily like re-register them because then it'll be a duplicate if we looked it up. So if there is a duplicate in the system where they signed up as a Pack Reg, then we'll delete the Pack Reg because they're already in the system. If there's no information on there, but we leave them until the system automatically deletes them
Oh, okay.
because they
Okay.
can place holds and things on them. So we keep that as a patron record.
Oh, okay. I was just curious as to why there were so many left up there that, if someone had a different procedure or whatever, but, okay, that was all I had.
Thank you. Kim, it's to the new driver's license.
Yes, and I think Michelle had a chat go out. I forget which on thread it was, but we had our first patron who came in with a state of Illinois driver's license on their phone. It was approved. And I'm just wondering if you're accepting that, because there's a big step that they have to take to go through the process of registering their driver's license or state ID with that. We haven't had any training come through for staff, and I wondered if, one, have you accepted it? Two, if you have any documentation or how you're working through that. The patron came back the next day and brought their driver's license physical, which was, they were very fine with it. It was just a new experience for staff.
So the only answer I have to that is I actually just had to update my driver's license. And so I was at the DMV and I asked them that question, just exactly what is this? How does it? And they don't even know how they know that most places aren't accepting it. So that doesn't necessarily mean we should or shouldn't. It just means it's not really, even at the DMV, some of those people don't even really know what the parameters are. So it's kind of funny. My biggest thing was it's still not going to reflect their current address. If they change their address, I don't believe it'll show obviously on there unless they update it. So that's a big one.
That's my question. Does it show their address on the digital? Because I thought it didn't. I haven't seen one, so I was just curious about other libraries.
I put mine in my, iPhone wallet just to see what it looks like. And there's my god awful driver's license photo. But so the thing comes up, I can show you guys. I mean, it looks like this, and then if you click on the eye, it takes you to the card information, which has my photo and my address and blah blah blah.
We're gonna blur that out for the recording.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Especially the photo.
No, it was, I barely saw the photo, but it was kind of blurry, so don't worry about it. But thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
But so yes, if this were not my current address, it wouldn't be updated, but we would just ask people if it's their current address anyway. So I would accept this as a photo ID, but if it was not their current address, they'd need something else. Mm-hmm. But we don't have anything, written in our policy about that yet.
Oh, thank you for that drop in there. I'll have to look. Yeah, right. Yeah. Absolutely correct, Anastasia.
Yeah, and I saw that you had to have like an app downloaded. I'm meeting with my assistant director on Monday, and I wanted to discuss it with her, what the parameters look like. And it says you, as a business, you can download it, but we don't have apps per se. So I'd have to have something on the computer. So I was trying to figure it all out. So I appreciate it. I have seen it. I have a staff member who downloaded it to their phone and is waiting for approval because you have to go through a rigorous.
You have to be approved by the state of Illinois, I guess. So it seems like it's legit.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are any more comments? Because it's pretty exciting. Another show and tell. Palatine's renovation.
All right, I'm gonna hop in and share my screen, and Rosalie, whenever you're ready.
Good morning, everybody. If I seem scared, I am. Jennifer and I and our department moved from our workroom up to the computer lab yesterday, and we're still trying to find everything. So,
Oh, so far so good.
I'm tired. So, I'll do some narration on the slides. This is going to be our main entrance, the south entrance. When you're coming in the library, that pretty blue fixture up at the top is material that's going to be like a sound absorbing fabric. So we're really excited about that. There will be a time when our desk is moving to like right by the stairs, if you see the stairs in the middle there. And that will all be closed because we are RFID tagged. I know you're all excited. For 3 months, we worked on RFID tagging. So staff did it themselves, 174,000 items at Maine and an additional 11,000 across our branches. We did have some volunteers helping us do that, and we even twisted the arm of several retirees to give us a hand. So it went really well, and we're glad to be in the camp with many of you. But we found out Tuesday during management team meeting that our sorter is going to be delayed a month. So instead of April, it's not coming until May. So we're a little bit bummed about that. But we should be back in our regular space, which would be right behind those desks that you see in April. And then I guess we'll just get used to our new space, and then the sorter will come about a month later. So usually everything happens at once, so maybe I should just be thankful. Anyway, our first phase of construction starts the 19th, and we will not have access to the first floor there at all. So if you're around, come visit us. We're stuck in the computer lab upstairs by the adult services desk. And I'm really proud of Jennifer and myself because we planned out the room and it really pretty much worked. So we're taking a bow right now. Can you go to the second slide, please? Thank you so much. So this is the plan. If you see on the right, you see our 3 desks, and then there's a wall, and then that's going to be our back room. And you see the sorters there on the bottom of the screen. And we're going to have it feed from both an internal intake and our book drop, our outside book drop. So we're really excited about that. You can go to the next one. Thank you. There in the top left, you see what our Library of Things room is going to look like. So we are so excited to have some organization because, as you know, Library of Things kind of came along and we kind of retrofit it into another space. So like all the libraries probably did. So we are so happy to have a designated spot for our Library of Things. We just hope it works the way we're planning because, we do have a couple of really big items that there are no way going to fit on those shelves. So we are trying to determine, but if you see that little inset where they have the drawers, it's very nice, but it's also hard to pick out of a catalog. So we're hoping it works, right, Jennifer? I think we have one or two more slides. Okay, this just shows you some of our the different selections, our paint, our wall tile, but we're really excited to have our own little member services wellness room there where we're going to have our fridge, a sink, a place to eat our lunch. And yes, we do have a staff lounge upstairs, but we wanted our own little spot. So we were lucky to get it. We did not have a restroom though. That was out. We tried hard. And of course, we don't really have any windows, so boo. But we are happy with these new spaces that are coming and all fresh and clean. So I'm not sure if I had any more slides. I think that might have been it. So come visit us after June when both phases of the project are wrapped up. Thank you for letting me share.
That was awesome. You'll have to share your special wellness space when you're all moved in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yay.
I know. It's exciting.
It's very exciting, especially once construction's over. It's the best feeling
Yes.
ever,
Yes.
ever. And you know what? It takes a while to get used to all the RFID and all that stuff. So having another month without a sorter, you'll be fine. You'll be more than ready.
Thanks for that positive note. I appreciate it, Belinda.
You know, we got to roll with it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. We roll with it.
It's not only us, it's our staff. So, you know,
Right. And it gives
it's
you
a
time
lot.
to help with the patrons because it's a big change.
Yes.
100%. All right. I have had so much fun today. There were 4 phrases that I'm going to repeat because we're reaching toward the end here. But I have not heard the terms willy-nilly, loosey-goosey, hog wild, or rigmarole used in one of our meetings before all together. So yay for us. Woohoo!
Wait, did one
That's
person say them all,
hysterical.
or was it a
No,
variety?
I wish. I was just like, okay, first of all, willy-nilly, I love it. And then I started writing and I'm like, loosey-goosey, this is getting better. It was just so awesome. You know, you just sit around for a while. You don't want to get bored. So, well, thank you, everyone. Kira, is there anything else I should add before I say see you in April?
I think we're good. Do we need a motion to adjourn, Mieko? Yes. So whenever
Okay.
you're ready, Belinda.
I move, we adjourn.
I'll second.
And Kira, thank you for advancing the slides for me and putting them in. Much appreciated.
You got it.
That's awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Happy New Year.
Take care.
Happy New Year.